Hey everyone, if you enjoy the video, like, subscribe, and share the channel. Let's get started. It is a patch of ocean that has consumed thousands of lives, hundreds of ships, and dozens of aircraft. It leaves no wreckage, it leaves no survivors, and most terrifyingly, it leaves no answers. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we aren't just looking at a mystery, we are diving headfirst into the most infamous, dreaded, and debated stretch of water on planet Earth, the Devil's Triangle, limbo of the lost, the Hoodoo Sea. But you probably know it by its most famous name, the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, this patch of the Atlantic Ocean has been the ultimate boogeyman of the sea. But what is actually happening out there? Are we dealing with a genuine paranormal hot zone? A government cover-up? Or is the ocean just doing what the ocean does best, destroying things without a trace? Today, we are going to break this down into three parts: the legend, the wild theories, and finally, the cold, hard truth. Let's start with the geography. The Bermuda Triangle isn't on any official map. You won't find it registered with the US Board on Geographic Names. It's a roughly triangular region defined by 3 points: Miami, Florida, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the island of Bermuda. That covers about 500,000 square miles of open ocean. To put that in perspective, that is larger than the entire states of Texas, California, and Montana combined. It is a massive, deep, and unpredictable body of water. And it's not a new phenomenon. Even Christopher Columbus, back in 1492, wrote in his logs about bizarre compass readings and a great flame of fire crashing into the sea while sailing through this exact area. But the triangle didn't become a global obsession until the 20th century, and the incident that truly birthed the legend is the terrifying vanishing of Flight 19. December 5th, 1945. World War II had just ended. It was a routine training day at Naval Air Station, Fort Lauderdale. 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, collectively known as Flight 19, took off at 2:10 p.m. There were 14 men involved, led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a highly experienced pilot with thousands of hours in the air. The mission was simple: fly east to the Bahamas, conduct practice bombings, fly north, and then return home. It was supposed to take 3 hours, but around 3:45 p.m., the control tower in Fort Lauderdale received a chilling radio transmission. Lieutenant Taylor sounded disoriented. He reported that both of his compasses were malfunctioning. He said, "I don't know where we are. We must have got lost after that last turn." The tower told him to fly north, with the sun on his port wing. Taylor's response sent shivers down the spine of the radio operator. He said, "I don't know where west is. Everything is wrong. Strange. We can't be sure of any direction. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." The ocean doesn't look as it should. What does that even mean? For the next few hours, radio operators listened in horror as the 5 planes flew aimlessly, desperately trying to find land. The sun went down, the weather deteriorated. Taylor's final, heartbreaking transmission was heard faintly at 6:20 p.m. He said, "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." And they did. All 5 planes and all 14 men vanished. But the tragedy wasn't over. The Navy immediately scrambled a massive search plane with a 13-man crew to look for Flight 19. Just 20 minutes after taking off, the rescue plane vanished too. 27 men and 6 aircraft gone in a single afternoon. The Navy's official report stated that Flight 19 disappeared as if they had flown to Mars. This wasn't an isolated incident. In 1918, the USS Cyclops, a massive 540-foot Navy cargo ship carrying 309 people, vanished without a single distress call. In 1963, a tanker carrying molten sulfur disappeared, leaving behind only a life ring. Planes, ships, pleasure yachts, all swallowed whole. By 1964, a writer named Vincent Gaddis published an article cataloging these disappearances. He gave the region a name that would stick forever: the Bermuda Triangle. A monster was born, but monsters need explanations. And as we move into part 2, you're going to see that the theories people came up with are even wilder than the disappearances themselves. So, we know things go missing. The question that has kept marine biologists, conspiracy theorists, and late-night internet sleuths awake for decades is simply why, when human beings are faced with the unknown, our brains desperately try to fill in the blanks. And when it comes to the Bermuda Triangle, those blanks have been filled with some of the most bizarre, fascinating, and terrifying theories imaginable. Let's start with the fringe stuff. Theory number 1, the Atlantis connection. I know, it sounds like a sci-fi movie, but hear me out. In the late 1960s, a psychic named Edgar Cayce claimed that the Bermuda Triangle was the resting place of the lost continent of Atlantis. He proposed that the Atlanteans powered their civilization using massive, highly advanced energy crystals. When the city sank, these crystals were buried under the ocean floor, but they are supposedly still active. According to this theory, these ancient power sources occasionally emit massive pulses of electromagnetic energy. When a ship or plane passes over a crystal during a pulse, its navigational equipment gets fried, the engines die, and they are pulled into the depths. Sure, there's absolutely zero geological evidence for this, but it's a legendary theory. Then, of course, we have theory number 2, extraterrestrials. The idea is that the triangle is basically a cosmic fishing hole. UFOs are using the area as an underwater base, or an interdimensional portal, snatching humans for study. This theory gained a massive amount of traction after the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind depicted the lost pilots of Flight 19 returning to Earth from an alien mothership. But what if the danger isn't ancient crystals or aliens? What if it's a tear in the fabric of reality? This brings us to theory number 3, electronic fog and time warps. This theory is almost entirely based on the terrifying account of a pilot named Bruce Gernon. In 1970, Gernon was flying his small plane from the Bahamas to Miami. Mid-flight, he claimed a strange, semicircular cloud formed right in front of him. As he flew into it, the cloud formed a massive tunnel. The walls were glowing, spinning with lines of electronic interference. His compass began spinning wildly. He flew through the tunnel and emerged on the other side, but something was wrong. He contacted Miami Air Traffic Control, but they couldn't find him on radar. When the fog finally cleared, he was directly over Miami Beach. The flight should have taken him 75 minutes. It took him 47. He had seemingly traveled 100 miles in a fraction of the time, burning a fraction of the fuel. Gernon believes he flew through a localized time-space warp, an electronic fog that transports matter. Okay, time to bring it back to Earth. Let's look at the scientific theories. Theory number 4, magnetic anomalies. You've probably heard that the triangle is one of the only places on Earth where a compass points to true north instead of magnetic north. In the past, this compass variation could easily throw navigators off course by dozens of miles, leading them into dangerous, shallow reefs where they would sink. And finally, theory number 5, methane hydrates. This is one of the coolest scientific explanations out there. Deep beneath the ocean floor, there are massive pockets of trapped methane gas. Every once in a while, seismic activity causes this gas to violently erupt upward. As the gas rises, it expands, turning the ocean into a frothy, bubbly mess. This drastically reduces the density of the water. If a ship is caught in a methane blowout, it loses all buoyancy and sinks like a rock in seconds. No time for an SOS. Furthermore, if that methane gas escapes into the air, it can choke an airplane engine, causing it to stall and crash. Aliens? Atlantis? Electronic fog? Methane blowouts? Magnetic trickery? We have a whole buffet of explanations. But before we decide which one is right, we need to ask a much more uncomfortable question. What if the entire mystery is completely fake? Stick around for part 3, where we look at the cold, hard reality of the Devil's Triangle. In 1975, a librarian and former pilot named Lawrence David Couch decided he had enough of the myths. He was tired of the sensationalized paperbacks and UFO documentaries. He decided to do something revolutionary. He decided to look at the actual data. Couch published a book called The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, and what he found completely shattered the illusion. He realized that the authors who built the myth of the triangle were guilty of massive exaggerations, shoddy research, and in some cases, outright fabrication. He found that many of the ships supposedly lost in the mysterious triangle actually sank hundreds or thousands of miles away. Others disappeared during massive, documented hurricanes, which the sensationalist authors conveniently forgot to mention. Some of the vanished ships never even existed in the first place. They were literally just urban legends printed as fact. Let's look at the statistics. A massive global study was conducted to map out the 10 most dangerous bodies of water in the world for shipping. Guess what didn't even make the top 10? The Bermuda Triangle, the South China Sea, the Mediterranean, the North Sea. Those are the real ship killers. You have to understand the geography of this area. The Bermuda Triangle is one of the most heavily trafficked shipping lanes on the planet. Millions of tourists fly over it every year to go to the Caribbean. Thousands of cargo ships pass through it, heading to ports in the Americas and Europe. When you have a massive amount of traffic in a specific area, naturally, you are going to have a higher absolute number of accidents. But proportionally, the loss rate in the triangle is no higher than anywhere else in the world. The insurance market. Lloyd's of London, a company whose entire business model relies on knowing exactly how dangerous the ocean is, has stated on the record that they do not charge higher premiums for ships passing through the Bermuda Triangle. If the area was truly a paranormal death trap, you better believe the insurance companies would be cashing in on it. So, if there's no mystery, what happened to Flight 19? What happened to the Cyclops? The ocean is brutal, guys. The triangle is subject to incredibly violent, fast-forming storms. It is also home to the Gulf Stream, a massive, fast-moving underwater river. The Gulf Stream can flow at speeds up to nearly 6 miles per hour. If a ship sinks or a plane crashes, the Gulf Stream will carry the wreckage miles away from the crash site in a matter of hours. That is why no debris is found. The ocean simply sweeps it away. Furthermore, the ocean floor in this area is home to the Puerto Rico Trench, which drops down to over 27,000 feet deep. If a ship goes down there, we aren't finding it, period. As for Flight 19, the heartbreaking truth is that Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight leader, had a history of getting lost. He became disoriented, convinced himself he was over the Florida Keys instead of the Bahamas, and led his men out into the open Atlantic until their planes literally ran out of gas. It wasn't aliens, it was human error, followed by the unforgiving nature of the sea. The Bermuda Triangle is a masterpiece of human psychology. It's a prime example of confirmation bias. Every time a ship sinks there, it proves the mystery. Every time a ship sails through safely, which happens thousands of times a day, it is ignored. We love a good mystery. We want to believe in magic, monsters, and unknown forces. It makes the world feel more exciting. But the truth is, the ocean doesn't need aliens or magic crystals to be terrifying. The ocean is vast, deep, powerful, and entirely indifferent to human life. And that, in my opinion, is much scarier than any myth. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments down below. Do you still think there's something weird happening in the triangle, or is it just the power of the ocean?